One of my connections on LinkedIn asked me an amazing question yesterday. He said, Ben, what do the best candidates do differently than an average candidate? And I immediately thought to myself, wow, that is a great topic for a video. I probably should have already done this. And I haven't. I can't do anything about that, but I can make one now. So today I'm going to give you 7 things that I notice the best candidates do that most people don't. That way you can be one of those best candidates. Let's go. Hi, I'm Ben White with Ben Talks Talent. I've got 11 years experience in talent acquisition, recruiting, interviewing, hiring, and team building, and I am passionate about using my experience to help you become the best candidate possible. Now, if you came to this channel because you wanted to learn tips and tricks that will allow you to be a better interviewer and land your next job and maximize your offer, well, good news, you came to the right place. If you were new to my channel, do me a solid here. Take 3 seconds to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. That way you never miss one of my videos, and if you are not new, welcome back. Now, I wanna jump in because I feel this is an incredibly valuable topic. The things I am going to cover today, they are going to make you a better candidate than you were before. If you don't do these things, you will immediately have a better chance of landing your next job. So let's get right in, let's not waste any more time. Tip number 1. The first thing you need to do is you need to close out every single interview you do for the rest of your life. Best candidates do this. The best candidates I interview, they always close. They don't leave the interview wondering what's next, what's gonna happen. They know because they close. So Ben, how do you do that? Great question. So what you wanna do when you reach the end of your interview at every level, you ask them the simple question. Do you have any questions or concerns about my ability to do the job? So maybe you start by saying, hey, I've got one more question before we go. Do you have any questions or concerns about my ability to do the job? What does this do? 2 things. It allows you to confirm they are interested and they don't have any concerns about you, right? So they might say to you, Ben, no, I don't. I think you're actually a really good fit for the role. At which point you respond, great. Well, I'm really interested in taking it to the next step. What does the process look like beyond here? There you go. Not only do you find out next steps, but you know they are interested in you. Best candidates lock that down. Now, what if they say to you, actually, Ben, yeah, I am concerned that you don't have enough leadership experience. Well, 1, they have that concern. Whether you know about it or not, it exists. So asking is a great idea because it gives you the opportunity to counter. If they say that to you, then you can go, you know what? I appreciate you sharing that with me. You know, one of the things that I don't think I've done as good a job of in this interview and maybe in my resume is talking through the depth of my leadership experience. I have actually done A, B, C, and it gives you an opportunity to counter. Then when you do that, you go, does that make you feel better about that concern? And it just gives you an opportunity to close, counter, and reclose. So the best candidates, one of the things they always do is they are closing. Because if you don't close, you are left with a lot of questions. One of the other advanced techniques that really great interviewers use is they ask questions in round 1 that will make them a better candidate in round 2. So what does that mean? Okay, so say you're interviewing with a recruiter or an HR person, right? And they've asked you, hey Ben, well, that's all my questions. Do you have any questions for me? One of the questions you need to ask is, real quick, what are the behaviors that have made people successful previously in this role? What did I do there? I basically ask them to tell you what you need to share with the hiring manager when you interview with them next, right? If they go, yeah, some of the characteristics is someone with a strong attention to detail, but still an outgoing personality. Well, when you're talking to the hiring manager and you're answering interview questions, you want to let them know, one of the things that I think differentiates me as a salesperson is I have a really strong attention to detail. I have complex notes that I go through, and I'm able to document things so that I never miss anything and nothing falls through the cracks. But at the same time, I'm able to be really relational and build relationships with my clients quickly. What you've done there is said, hey, hiring manager, remember that really great team member or person who was in this seat previously that you liked and they were great? I'm a lot like them, so hire me. That is a great thing to do, and it's an advanced technique, but if you can do that, it's really gonna set you apart from other candidates. One of the other things that is really powerful, and I've talked about this before, is quantifying your impact. The best candidates are able to come into an interview and they can quantify their impact in past positions. What does this mean? Okay, so let's just say a recruiter asks you the question or a hiring manager asks you the question, Ben, what is your most significant career achievement? That's a layup, right? That's an alley-oop. They are basically giving you an opportunity to free speak on whatever you want. But let's look at 2 potential answers. So one of the answers might be, Well, in my last job, I implemented a process, and I think it really helped us move a little bit quicker. We were able to get things to our customers faster, and they were really happy about it. That's a good answer, kind of, right? I mean, it says, here's something I've done, it made a big impact. But what if you said this? Well, one of the things I'm really confident about, or I'm really happy about, is in my past role, I led a 6-month project in which we identified some of the gaps in our shipping and receiving, and through some of the corrective actions, we were able to reduce the time it took us to get, product from customer from 6 weeks to 2 weeks. And in turn, we were able to make another $200,000 in blah, 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 blah. Now that is not a real example, and that was a little bit all over the place, but I think you saw what I did there, right? I gave a timeline. I talked about the actions I took, and I talked about the cost savings. What that allows the hiring manager to do is it allows them to imagine the type of impact you can make if you were to join their team. It is always more significant if you can quantify the impact you've had in previous roles, in previous projects, than if you were just to let them speculate on what that impact was. I always tell people, go through your job, your job history, look at every single role you've had and write down the most significant thing you accomplished in that role and try to find a way to find a value there. Find the time savings, find the financial gain, whether that's a decrease in spend or an increase in revenue, whatever it is. If you were able to make a financial impact, make notes on that, quantify it, and be ready to speak to it in every interview you have for the rest of your life. Another huge interview tip that I think separates good candidates and great candidates is great candidates. They'll look on your website, they'll go to your About Us section, they'll go there, they'll find out what your company values are, and they'll weave them into their answers, right? So one of the questions you will definitely get asked in many interviews is, what is it about this company that interests you? And you could say a lot of things, and you should. You should talk about how you admire the company, about how their product or service is something that you've always appreciated or you've used personally. You could talk about how the role is a great fit for you. You should do all these things, but one of the things you can also do is talk about your value alignment. One of the things that I've always been impressed with is when candidates can recall 3 or 4 of our company values and say, one of the things that I've been interested in, besides your product, obviously you make a great product and I've always admired your organization. I think you're one of the flagship companies in my geographic area. But culturally, I feel like we have a strong alignment. You value getting the job done, putting the customer first in collaboration, and those are things that I've always tried to do in previous roles. So not only do I feel like I'm a good fit for this role, not always have I always admired your company, but I feel like we're aligned when it comes to values, and that's really important to me. Wow, what a strong answer. When candidates say things like that, when they can weave that in, it shows not only are they going to be a great company fit, right? Great value alignment, great culture fit, but it shows they are well researched. And everybody appreciates that. So that's another thing that's kind of a level 202 interviewing strategy. One of the things that I think is really cool, and this has happened to me and I really appreciated it, is when a candidate asks the hiring manager behavioral interview questions. So you as a candidate are gonna get asked behavioral interview questions all the time. Hey Ben, tell me about a time where you had to successfully handle competing deadlines. Or Ben, tell me about a time where you had to work with someone who was difficult to partner with, but you were able to find a successful resolution. You're gonna ask those questions. But did you know you can ask them too? Did you know you can ask a hiring manager? So when you're in your interview and they're saying, okay, Ben, that's all the questions I have. Do you have any questions for me? You can ask your hiring manager, hey, can you tell me about a time where you had a team member who was struggling? What did you do as their direct manager to help them succeed? Or what did you do to help them develop? Questions like that, to me, they're gonna give you a lot of information as a candidate, right? If you ask about their leadership tendencies and you put it in a behavioral interviewing context, that's gonna be powerful. You'll get a powerful answer, and most of the times, hiring managers are not ready for that. So it's gonna be candid. If you ever wanna turn the tables, and you should from time to time, ask a question like that. It is a 202 strategy for sure. But when I've been asked questions like this, I've always walked away really impressed. Like, wow, that candidate had the confidence to ask me a question like this. They had the foresight to think about it and ask me a question where they'd get some really valuable information. I've always respected it. And a key thing here, if the hiring manager, and some of you might think this, well, Ben, what if they're off put by that? What if they don't like that? Well, what does that say about them as a leader? If they are offended by your desire to ask the same type of questions they expect for themselves to be able to answer or ask to you, I might see that as a bit of a red flag. When I've been asked questions like this, I am perfectly fine with it. I think normal and good hiring managers will have no problem with it, and they'll probably be impressed. I've always been. One of the other things I know that good candidates do is they'll actually do a background check in the company, right? So they don't just walk in and hope it's a good place to work. They'll actually do their research. They'll go to sites like Glassdoor, Google, they'll read reviews. But some of the really great candidates, they'll actually reach out to current and former employees on LinkedIn, send them a request so they can be connected and say, hey, I'm actually gonna be interviewing with a company you used to work for. I would love to get 5 minutes on a phone call with you just so you can talk me through some of the pros and cons of working for this organization. Do you have a few minutes? That is called a company background check, and I'm a huge advocate of it. Making a career move, that is a risk. It's always a risk. So what can you do to offset that risk? Well, this is one of those things. Doing your research, connecting with people who've worked for the company before, it is a strong strategy that's really gonna help you feel confident that if you decide to make a move, it's the right move. The last thing I wanna talk about is the best candidates, extreme preparation. It's always a part of their game. When you're talking to someone as a recruiter or as a hiring manager, and I have been both many times, it is clear who prepared and who didn't prepare. And it is abundantly clear when that person has done a ton of preparation, and I always respect it. No hiring manager says, Ben, send me someone who doesn't care enough about my role to prepare adequately. They always want people who do their research. And you can tell when a candidate is referencing things that are happening in the news, articles, mergers, acquisitions, when they're talking about company values, when they're talking about new products, existing products. When it is just abundantly clear they have done their research, it is hard not to respect that and value that. So I'm telling you, one of the things you can easily do is put in the time. One of my most recent videos, so I think it's like 1 or 2 back, is talking about research. So if you are listening to this and you go, I want to be that candidate, Ben, I want to come into an opportunity extremely well researched, watch that video. I guarantee you will leave knowing all the research you need to do. That is it. That is everything. I appreciate you sticking around. If you're watching this and you found value here, and I am assuming you did because you were still here, hit that like button. It is an easy way for you to tell YouTube I don't suck, and it helps me a ton, and it's free. Good luck in your next interview. You've got this.